get more now on one of our other top stories of the day. The Securities and Exchange Commission suing 6 former top executives at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac with securities fraud related to subprime mortgages. Eamon Javers is in Washington with the story. Eamon, over to you.
Hi, Maria. Well, the SEC charged those 6 executives today with financial fraud, saying that they knew that that Freddie and Fannie had more exposure to subprime mortgages than they were revealing in public. Take a listen.
Today's action is about holding individuals accountable for their role in misleading the public about their company's subprime exposure. And they are just the latest in a long line of financial crisis-related cases brought by the SEC.
Now the former CEO of Fannie Mae is firing back. Mr. Mudd saying the SEC is wrong, and I look forward to a court where fairness and reason, not politics, is the standard for justice. Now the CEOs of Freddie and Fannie have testified extensively on the Hill. They've been very public over the years, but today the SEC is seeking financial penalties, disgorgement of ill-gotten gains with interest, and officer and director bans against all 6 executives they brought charges against today. And one complicating factor in all this, Maria, is the fact that both companies are in conservatorship. That is, any fines levied against these 2 companies could be effectively borne by the U.S. taxpayer. So we're seeing that the 2 companies have settled with the SEC and are agreeing to simply help the SEC in its investigation of these former executives, Maria.
All right, Amy, thank you so much. Recently, we had the chance to speak with former Fannie Mae CEO Dan Mudd, and he told us about the importance of Fannie and Freddie. Listen to this.
People have forgotten the point that underneath the size of the companies and their balance sheets, a lot of the infrastructure of the mortgage market works through the company. The documents that you and I have our mortgages on came out of the agencies. The system of underwriting and clearing comes through the agencies. So I think that's the right process over a period of time.
Joining me now to talk about the SEC lawsuit are Andrew Stoltman, partner at Stoltman Law Offices, and David Bissinger, partner at Siegmeyer, Oshman, and Bissinger. Good to have you on the program, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Andrew, is there merit to this lawsuit by the SEC? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a real strong lawsuit. You have to realize that it is extremely well documented. They are using emails. They're using disclosures made in 10Ks and 10Qs. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac caused a lot of problems and caused part of this mess that we're still in today. And some of the things that have been alleged against it by the SEC, it's going to be tough to get around. For example, disclosing that Fannie Mae had only $2 billion in subprime mortgages, when in fact they had $250 billion. So I think it's a real strong case.
What do you think, David? You agree with that?
Maria, I think that's right. You've got internal documents from these companies as opposed to private litigation where you frequently only have statements that the lawyers can assemble from outside and public domain documents. The SEC has the opportunity to do these subpoenas and witness interviews before the lawsuit. Basically, what you have here is a situation where the losses or exposure to subprime that these companies allegedly represented to the public was about the size of a raisin, but according to the SEC, the true exposure was that of a large cantaloupe. So there's a drastic difference, at least according to what's alleged in these very detailed lawsuits, right, versus what actually these companies were seeing internally. So there is a lot of meat to this.
Okay, so what do you think the ramifications are then? First, tell me, David, what's behind the timing of the lawsuit? Why now?
Well, I think there's some speculation that there may be political pressure and so forth. That's difficult to gauge. What you have to remember is that SEC investigative process takes time, right? So that the conservatorship of these companies occurred in September of 2008. Well, the SEC began issuing subpoenas and conducting witness interviews all through 2009 and probably through 2010. And then the SEC engages usually in a Wells negotiation process. In other words, where they talk to these people individually about whether they'll consent to these charges and so forth. And that negotiation process can often take a year or so. So when you combine the investigation with the pre-suit negotiation that likely happened, the timing here isn't all that unusual. It's not that atypical for an SEC case. And by the way, the SEC does not face the same narrow statutes of limitations that private litigants have. So the SEC has more luxury to work up the cases.
At this point, I mean, the public is looking for blood, you know, Andrew. I mean, why hasn't the SEC brought securities fraud charges against senior executives at banks and brokerage firms if it's so, straightforward?
Yeah, I'd like to say it's because they've been too busy trying to catch the next Bernie Madoff and the next Alan Stanford, but we know that's not the case. I don't think that the SEC wants a tough fight. Historically, they haven't been willing to go after some of the sacred cows in the securities industry. A lot of times they like going after the investment advisor or the stockbroker who doesn't have a lawyer. They don't like going against deep-pocketed defendants. So I think it's really, really surprising when we do see them taking this sort of step. And I think it is public relations driven. The SEC has come under so much bad publicity in the last 2 or 3 years, including as recently as the Judge Rakoff rejection of the Citigroup settlement. So I think this is PR motivated, and that's the reason why we're seeing it right now.
Okay, so there's a real specific reason to where the timing is and why right now. So what do you think? How do you think this plays out then, Andrew?
Well, I think that you're going to see the case move forward, and I would be surprised, given how strong the case is, if you don't see some sort of a settlement. Remember, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are cooperating. There's still about $141 billion in the hole to the U.S. taxpayer, so I think we'll see a settlement in the next year to 2 years. A
settlement, okay. So you think these guys will settle and try to get it out of their lives and not just put their sort of, reasons for why it's not true forward. You're expecting a settlement. Yeah,
I think it'll happen relatively soon. I'd say 12 to 24 months. I don't think they're going to take it to the mat.
And do you agree with that?
I think that's likely, Maria. You don't like to, the SEC does not like to try cases. It does not like to lose, and these executives face real serious consequences if they don't settle. And it is consistent. There have been other subprime cases, such as the SEC's case against Goldman Sachs over the John Paulson-related hedge fund trades, and those did lead to a settlement, like Andrew said, within, say, the period of 8 to 10 months or so after the filing of the lawsuit. That is the typical pattern.
All right, we'll leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you both. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.